What's up everybody and welcome back to another matchup from the Dreamhack Invitational. This is the grand finale. This is Game 5 Grand Finals. Alliance, aka former No Tidehunter, versus Dignitas. Game 5, 2-2, single elimination, $1,000 extra on the line for the winner of this tournament. And I will be bringing you Game 5. I think Lunas might be covering the whole series, but I heard this game was very, very nice, and I'm going to still cast it anyways because, you know what, I do what I want. As you can see, it is 2-2. And this series has been interesting and yet uninteresting at the same time. It's interesting because Alliance, aka No Time 2, is regarded as the strongest team in the Western Dota at the moment. They won Star Ladder, they are doing very well, they made it to the grand finals of this tournament, and so far they have looked very, very strong. EGM, Loda, Aki, S4, and Admiral Bulldog have been playing out of their minds. Meanwhile, Dignitas play pretty standard Dignitas lineup. Shadow Shaman support. This is the only unusual hero. They picked up Brewmaster Solo mid, which is pretty good against an Anti-Mage and a Bear because it can always cycle in that Bear up into the air. If Anti-Mage doesn't get a BKB or if doesn't get a fast match style, you can Drunken Haze the Anti-Mage, reducing his DPS a lot by team fights. But again, Anti-Mage doesn't really want to fight. He wants to hit creeps. But this is, as usual, a very greedy Dignitas lineup. Their lanes aren't particularly strong. They'll have Darkseer off lane. Universe's Darkseer has been performing extremely well, but this is pretty much the same lineup we see in Dignitas from every game, with a different mid solo for snaking. But I think Dignitas have chosen Gyrocopter pretty much every game with the Darkseer, Nature's Prophet support, and Shadow Shaman. Maybe not Nature's Prophet and Shadow Shaman, but they've been getting these two core heroes every single game. And I think the team, whoever gets Magnus, has won all 4 of the games thus far. The team has won on their home server each time as well. Alliance are currently playing on US East, though, for this final game, so we'll see if they can break the trend. And I think Alliance have gotten Lone Druid every single time, and again, the team with Magnus is 4-0. So that's why the series is interesting, yet uninteresting. It's uninteresting because they're seeing the same picks. It's interesting because this is probably 2 of the strongest teams in Western Dota. Definitely 2 of the hottest teams, if not the 2 hottest teams. May minus Navi at this point in the Western Dota 2 scene. And after this turn, Keyman Alliance will be going to the raid call EMS, which I hopefully will be able to bring you some games. I bought that ticket a long time ago, so hopefully I can bring you some of those games. Maybe get a dual caster in there for some of the replay casts, but it should be an exciting tournament. But let's get underway. Game 5, the grand finale. Brought to you by The Good Studio. Shouts to The Good Studio for putting on an amazing production of this tournament. Really showing everybody that their production value is the best in the scene by far. And man, I wish I was in a studio so I could do that sort of production, but you're gonna have to be content with shitty old replay caster now. But anyway, on the side of Alliance, aka No Tidehunter, we have S4 playing the Magnus, Aki is playing the Leshrac, Loda is playing the Anti-Mage, EGM is playing the Shadow, and Admiral Bulldog is once again playing that off-lane Lone Druid. Me on the side of Dignitas, we're going to have Universe playing the Darkseer, Way Too Sexy is playing the Nature's Prophet, Fogged is going to be playing the Shadow Shaman, AUI 2000 is playing the Gyrocopter, and Snaking is going to be handling the Brewmaster. And in this game, it's pretty interesting because neither team has particularly strong lanes. Alliance does have that LGN style dual roam setup. Keep in mind, Orange does experiment with the style as well, as the Bear is going to get caught out of position. It's going to get shackled. If Admiral Bulldog loses his Bear right now, that could be a lot of trouble. AUI was in position to get the Rocket Barrage off. Not like it would have killed it anyway, but still forcing the Bear back. And the Lone Druid has really been heavily pressed down in these offlane games thus far. If you've watched some of Luminous' early VODs, or maybe not, but Bulldog definitely not having the easy go of it, as he's going to use a salve on the Bear at the beginning. Really wants to pull that creep as soon as possible, as the courier making its way has a couple clarities in the back pocket for Way Too Sexy, as he got 6 clarities made. The courier, again, very staring Dignitas lineup. But yeah, this is an interesting game because usually Alliance likes to go for early game these days, get the Chen going, get the Lone Druid, and just go for a massive timing push. But this game, I guess they want to play it a bit more safe. They're going to have Loda on the Anti-Mage. They know Dignitas wants to avoid fights. And there's very few carries as good as Anti-Mage in terms of avoiding fights, because Anti-Mage, all he wants to do is split push, as Snaking going to get in a terrible position. EGM with the Haster and Splitter is going to come in. The Skewer will slow down Snaking. Aki just waiting as long as possible. Might not even have to use the stun. Oh, a couple more right clicks. Aki misses the stun, but it doesn't matter. EGM does get the last hit. only using a couple spells in that engagement, and Snaking gonna be a little bit dissuaded in that attempt. That's gonna give Magnus an early game advantage, and Magnus, once he gets that bottle up and starts bottle crawling, should have the advantage, even though Brewmaster is a bit tankier and he has a Drunken Haze. Brewmaster is probably the best melee solo mid, but in terms of spammability, Magnus definitely has his number. But yeah, both teams picking a very, very passive lineup at the most part. Again, the exception being these two dual roaming supports. So once it reaches on the 10-15 mark, I imagine both teams don't want to look for a fight. Snaking really wants to make great usage of the Brewmaster ultimate, but Dignitas right now are only working with a couple stuns. Only the Panda, Brewmaster ultimate, and Xiao Shan can really provide the lockdown, as Way26 is going to roam in, trying to protect Snaking a little bit. But yeah, the teamfight set for Dignitas is going to be, or the ganking set for Dignitas is going to be severely underpowered, sort of, or very difficult to set up without the Brewmaster ultimate. But again, Dignitas always pick these very, very low stun-heavy lineups, and they always seem to find a way to make it work, especially since the return of Snaking. But meanwhile, Loda, Anti-Mage, Universe sensing that, okay, the supports are dual roaming, and Aki has consistently shown himself in the middle lane. Gonna have Universe sent back to the top, and Anti-Mage, due to the Tranquil Boots nerf, really can't stay in the lane too effectively against the Darkseer. Universe making a smart decision. Has to be careful, doesn't want to get too many of his creeps denied, because he does want that fast soloing. And Universe, again, Darkseer, reason why he's fade out in most other teams besides Dignitas is because if he's shut out of the lane, he has a really, he still has an impact in the game, but it does take a while for him to sort of get back in terms of levels, as Leshak camping the courier, but he is going to be thwarted in that endeavor because it is a flying courier. But so far, this lane, or this game, is going as standard can get. Fogged, no smoker to see. Again, hallmark of Dignitas. They don't like to gank, they just like to farm up, get the mid-games items. May take team fights here and there when they feel the need to, but really, they're under no pressure. But Alliance can play this waiting game as well. They have Anti-Mage, they have Lone Druid. I think in the ultra late game, Anti-Mage, with the back of the Brewmaster ultimate, locking down a couple heroes, especially the Bear and the Darkseer, could be in a bit of trouble. But again, Anti-Mage will be able to get split push going much earlier than something like the Nature's Prophet, who does take a while to get going. And he probably will go for the Midas Rush, as is common with Way26's Nature's Prophet. But Alliance do have to fear the early on tower push because there's a Xiao Shan in the game. The Master Serpent Wards can definitely apply a lot of pressure. And there was really not the best anti-push mechanisms in place. Anti-Mage does not want to go defend a tower. Leshak, definitely not the best tower defender because he won't be leveling up Lightning, and he's just gonna have to get up close and personal to burst down those creeps. Magnus is really the only anti-push on the side of Alliance, so I think Dignitas, they want to get level 6 up on the Xiao Shan and Brewmaster ASAP. And you can see that's what they're going for. They're just pulling non-stop with Fogged and really not caring about Admiral Bulldog, but there's going to be another gank attempt for Snaking. Snaking did not see it coming. Here comes the disruption. S4 trying to get in position for the skewer. Does skewer Snaking backwards to the tower. Nice soul catcher as Snaking going to try to run away. The Splurth whiffs just barely as Leshak just a tad slow. Oh, what a smart purchase by Snaking, getting those boots up ASAP. Does eventually die to the shockwave, realizing that S4 does have enough mana. Tried to juke a couple ways, but S4 cleaning up the kill. And this is very important. Brewmaster is a hero that provides an immense amount of teamfight presence, but keep in mind his ultimate in the first or opening levels is 160-second cooldown. And it's not like Panda ultimate gets better as the game goes on. And of course I'm talking about the ultra late game, because the Panda ultimate does not really gain in terms of physical DPS or in terms of damage. And if you sort of keep down his levels in the early game, that will allow your supports to get HP, that will allow your team to sort of deal with the Panda ultimate a little bit easier. So delaying that level 6 is crucially important because that means you're delaying the level 11, which gives you the stronger spirits. It delays your level 16, which gives you the strong spirits, and of course the shorter cooldown on each level. So the fact that S4 has gotten these ganks is momentously important, especially with the free farming Anti-Mage and Loda lasting every single creep on the top lane for the most part. Gonna go for the Battle Fury. Again, it's useful on Anti-Mage, but it's not really necessary. But AUI, recognizing that Bulldog went to the jungle, just going to provide a bit of pressure. This might force Bulldog back to the off lane, just to see if he can soak up some experience, because again, you get experience much more quickly. And you can see he has actually swing that way, as he's going to heal the bear up, try to get some experience with the tower push incoming. But Dignitas already planned this, they're pulling the wave, And again, their goal is to get Fog level 6, get those Serpent Wards down, and make sure that Snaking doesn't die anymore. Split Earth is in position. Universe going to surge ahead, Snaking, as the Iron Shell doing immense amounts of damage. Nice skill by S4, going to save the life of the Leshrac, as Brewmaster was level 6, did not want to use his ultimate right there. Again, level 1 Brewmaster, you want to get at least 2 kills, or at the very least 1 for sure kill, and be in an advantageous position. But I think in that situation, if he popped the Master Ultimate, he could have picked up Leshrac, but then he probably would have gotten RP'd by the Magnus, so probably wouldn't have been worth it. And you can see, despite being behind in terms of kills, Snaking is actually out-CSing the Magnus just because he's tankier, and when Magnus ever ventures into melee range for those last hits, you can just Drunken Haze him because it's such a low mana cost. And again, level Shockwave is an immensely spammable spell, but you can't solely rely on it to get every single creep because you'll just run out of mana a lot quicker without those arcane boots, and that means you're going to have to venture in melee range, and that's a perfect opportunity to get the Drunken Haze. So despite Snaking dying twice, he's actually only a slight amount of experience behind, but really smart play by Alliance, trying to pressure this top tower, maybe forcing Snaking's hand to teleport to the top lane. But right now, Anti-Mage not the best pusher in the game, Shadow Demon definitely not the strongest pusher, and Loda probably just going to feed a bit of experience to Universe. I mean, not feed, but no Tidehunter or Alliance in general is just going to give Universe a bit of experience. Can't really pressure the tower too much unless Leshrac gets a really strong Edict. But they're just going to get a double stack going and try to feel up their supports. And as you can see right now, Dignitas' style, they don't get punished for their very greedy laning presence, at least in this game. But in the majority of the games that we've watched recently, teams really don't know what to do against Dignitas in terms of the laning phase, because even though they pick up very greedy lanes, even if the other team gets a kill advantage, Dignitas, even though they pick up very greedy lanes, they always have some form of strong team fight, and that's really anchored on the back of Darkseer, who has that vacuum and Iron Shell doing ridiculous amounts of damage and having the escapability / chasing power of the Surge. And you can see the Dignitas squad definitely benefiting from that quite a bit. Fogged level 5.5. But the wave is going to be pushed, and I think S4 was called missing, so Dignitas appropriately backing off, but here comes Way Too Sexy with the teleport. Bulldog is all 6, so he has that bear for the entangles if he truly needs it, and the bear is back at the base healing up at the fountain. He does not want to resummon it because if it does die, he'll be SOL for the most part in the lane. So, nice engagement for Dignitas. They managed to get a tower for free. And right now, Brewmaster versus Magnus, the experience is actually even, and Brewmaster is out-CSing S4. This is a remarkable job by Snaking, but this is one of the few melee versus melee lanes that Magnus actually does lose. So, oh man, the shackle by Fog, the bear gonna get shackled in place. Keep in mind, you can't blink it back while it's taking damage, but this is gonna give Bulldog some time to get some experience. It might be a tactical feed as the missile gonna come in place. The bear can be blinked back, so the bear will be saved. But it's not really the biggest deal for Dignitas. All they used was a bit of mana, and AUI may well get a clarity, has the Basilius, so he can get himself a bit of passive mana regen. So far, it's difficult to say who has the advantage, as the Radiant have a slight experience advantage. You might be wondering, why do they have a slight experience advantage? Well, Dignitas have a jungler, and they have a solo puller. And meanwhile, no Tidehunter, aka Alliance, not nearly as lucky, but still, the experience graph is mostly even. The gold graph should be in favor of Dignitas because of the tower, but it's mostly offset due to Loda's farm. And even though Dignitas is very strong in terms of mid-game fights, again, what do they have to lock Anti-Mage in place? They have no stuns, other than the Shadow Shaman and the Brewmaster, and Brewmaster not really the most reliable. His 2-second boulder toss isn't really the biggest deal as Snaking and Roman, but the no time toward did scope out the arrival of Snaking, but with the haste rune he's going to go to work on Aki. The disruption is in place. Edict going to waste a bit of damage. Snaking going to end up getting stunned. Should be okay. Actually, a bit surprised Loda didn't go in for some mana burns, but I guess with Snaking being hasted, it wouldn't have been that smart to do so. But yeah, aside from the Brewmaster Ultimate, which again has a ridiculously long cooldown, and the Shadow Shaman, who can be picked up very easily by somebody like the Magnus or the Shadow Demon, what do they have to lock down the Anti-Mage until Nature's Prophet gets an Orchid? Nothing. They have nothing. So that's what I worry about for Dignitas, at least for the first 20 minutes to 25 minutes of the game. It's not like Snaking is farming uncontrollably. He just picked up a minus a couple moments ago, and it's a pretty average minus for a jungling prophet, especially a prophet who probably got the career like Dignitas does tend to do with their Nature's Prophets. As Fogged gonna roam in, trying to perhaps surprise Snaking, or S4 rather. probably didn't surprise Snaking because Snaking's on his team. But right now, S4 is surprisingly enough 1-0-1. Just want to check out the net worth really quick. Yeah, Brewmaster actually out net worthing him because of that tower gold, as there is going to be smoke attempt, and you really see Dignitas wants to make great usage of the Supermaster ultimate because it is very strong in the early game. But they might end up paying for it with Way Too Sexy's life. Way Too Sexy gonna potentially be utterly dominated by S4's Magnus. The courier gonna get back just in time. Way Too Sexy's Midas, he used it at the very least. That's always the worst situation. But again, this really smartly placed ward by the side of Alliance, scouting out the Dignitas competition. But this is what you can do with somebody like a Tidehunter or a Brewmaster. You say, alright, I have the ultimate, you guys know I have the ultimate. Do you want to fight us? If you don't want to fight us, we're going to take your tower. And it's a little bit more intimidating because even though Magnus is definitely the better ultimate in my opinion because of the RP, in terms of the early game DPS, Magnus, where will the DPS going to come from? I guess the burst damage and the Leshrac, but other than that, there's really not too much burst damage. Meanwhile, Brewmaster can stun more people reliably as there's going to be a mass exodus of teleports. Dignitas took the tower, they're going to surge in, they're trying to pick up S4, the Wrath of Nature did manage to hit him, so Dignitas are fully aware of it as the universe is on the pursuit. They get the level 1 vacuum, pretty hard to land, but still, no backup damage, and S4 will escape. And suddenly, Alliance, even though there's nothing in place to sort of stop the anti-mage, they're looking a little bit shaky. They have no anti-push like I previously mentioned, and Dignitas fully exposing that with the Nature's Prophet. EGM stacking the Shadow Poisons, got 3 points, smart build, recognizing the fact that, okay, we got 2 kills on with the Disruption Soul Catcher, we're gonna need the anti-push because we have jack shit in terms of that department. Meanwhile, Alliance, recognizing the fact we don't want to fight against Supermaster Ultimate, gonna push another tower. Magnus trying to get in position, 700 away from the dagger, but Snaking should already have his dagger. He does have it in the stash, but he can't initiate. That is a bit unfortunate for Snaking. As meanwhile, Vacuum gonna reveal EGM. INHL going down on Snaking. They're gonna surge Snaking forward, trying to get in position, gonna get the clap onto EGM. EGM just gonna die in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, Aki and AUI duke it out. AUI is the victor in that engagement. Did not even catch that. And that's why we have this, guys. So I'm going to check it out. Shouts to replays. As, oh, Way Too Sexy put himself in a very, very weird position. Not sure how he got there, but AUI gonna roam back in, call down, and oh no, the Edict. Wow. That was actually really smart by Way Too Sexy, because Edict does splash onto creeps, and it can take a lot of the Edict hits, but unfortunately for Way Too Sexy, he did end up perishing in that endeavor, but he fed the kill to AUI, so that was very, very key, and AUI starting to look very, very strong. Even though he doesn't have as much harm in terms of Loda, Gyrocopter can do a lot more damage than anti-mage earlier on. He picked up the drums, going to give himself attack speed, and help feel the push, because right now Dignitas have a 2-tower advantage, even though, and it seems like they're in a slight experience deficit, but still, with the Nature's Prophet having a Midas, they can catch up. However, Loda just finished the Battle Fury, 13 minutes in the game, pretty decent timing. He was pressured on that top lane, so you can sort of cut him some slack right there, as he couldn't get uninterrupted free farm, but for the most part, this is a very, very strong timing for the Battle Fury. He wants to get it under 15 minutes in mostly a free farm lane, and Loda did just that, and now Loda will be an issue, because now he can start split pushing the lanes, and because of Blink, how are you going to stop him? You have no way to initiate on him, unless Xiaoshan miraculously picks up a dagger, and he went for Arcane Boots Bracer. So, I don't know, they can't gank the anti-mage. He's going to be completely uninterrupted in terms of how he can farm. And the universe could be in for a rude awakening happening very soon. The Smoke of Deceit gonna be popped. Right now, Alliance did spot the movement of the Dignitas players, but it seems like they're feeling rather unconfident in terms of taking the engagement. Brewmaster is there, and it's always dicey to take an engagement against Brewmaster, because even though you have the RP, Brewmaster can just send your Magnus up into the air for 5 to 7 seconds, or 5 seconds, stun for 2 seconds, and then suddenly, where's your team fight at? It's nowhere. Snaking once again getting surge forward. The clap barely lifts. The purge goes down as well. Here comes the teleport in by Way Too. Dignitas trying to force the issue, recognizing that again they don't have anything to lock down the anti-mage. They're gonna get a tier 2 at the cost of some wards. They did sacrifice their middle tier 1, but they're gonna get a tier 2 in exchange, and this is gonna provide a lot of pressure. And also this is very important for the split push, which I'll go into in just a second, as S4 gonna be caught out position, gonna get shackled, will most certainly perish in this assault. Vacuum gonna cancel the skewer and gets one parting skewer off, saying fuck you guys. Gonna do a bit more damage. 280 I think is skewer damage. Yeah. Meanwhile, the teleport and the surge, Darkseer, the chasing power, Dignitas is just so good with Darkseer. Surging, snaking forward, getting that blink have such a long range of initiation. Even if they don't have stuns, if you're not an anti-mage, you can get killed by this Dignitas lineup. But back to the split pushing point, this tier 2 tower usually isn't that important in terms of map control, but it's very powerful in terms of countering the split push, because usually at this point in the game, where is anti-mage going to farm? He's going to farm the safe lane, which is the top lane. And Dignitas, they don't really need to push the top lane because they already took the towers. And anti-mage, it's going to take him so much time, and the most annoying thing about anti-mage split pushing is that he pressures your towers, he kills them, and he forces out so many TPs, and if you don't have TP, your tower is dead. But now it's going to take anti-mage so long in terms of, and when I say so long, I mean longer than usual in terms of pushing out the creep wave and getting to the tower, that Dignitas should always be in position to defend at least their tier 2, even if their tier 1 does die off, because they managed to get the tier 2 on the top lane. So even though the top tower is not really that important in terms of map control, it is very important in this game. The Alliance Central Ward is going to spot out Dignitas' EGM, once again going to purge off Snaking. Snaking might be forced to split, is going to split as Aki going to get Boulder Toss. Snaking not that high in terms of HP. Aki should be okay. Meanwhile, Loda is invisible, fogged. Should be very careful. Snaking going to pop back into the Earth Elemental Spirit very, very soon. Loda hunting him down. Wants Snaking, is going to find Snaking. Loda doesn't hit him. He knows Fogged was nearby, and those precious moments could be just enough to kill him. Gonna go back into Fogged. Here comes S4. They are gonna kill off Fogged as Dignitas, all they lost was support. They used the Brewmaster ultimate, but meanwhile they're split pushing the top, or the bottom lane. Really smartly done. AUI with the Shadow Blade gonna get the heck out of dodge. And they really can't catch up to him. No dust appearance, so Dignitas playing really, really well. Really, really smart Dota. And this is what happens when Dignitas gets level 6 again. They go for these engagements where they know they can win, force the issue with the team fight, rely on the Gyrocopter's immense amount of burst damage, even at the early levels, and they're going to take a pretty big tower lead. So the gold advantage, experience advantage not so significant, but Alliance definitely know they're behind. They're going to go for the Roshan, and power only level 1, but still, I mean, staring to build for S4 being level 11. But the Dignitas squad have a ward, but they can't do anything because Brewmaster uses ultimate. Smart timing by the Alliance squad. And Brewmaster ideally wants to get that level 11. They're going to use a call down. Going to pressure out Loda. The missile is in place as Gyrocopter managed to get vision. Loda going to be thwarted from attacking the Roshan for just a bit longer as here comes the engaging Fog with the Serpent Ward. It's going to get a 2-man RP. Beautiful play by S4. No mana. Does manage to get the mana for his skewer. Anti-Edge gets the Aegis as Radiant got the... Oh man, Radiant got the Roshan kill. That is going to give him a huge burst of gold. That's going to be very, very bad for these underfarm supports as it's going to be searched forward onto AUI. AUI trying to get in position for the Rocket Barrage. Snaking, or way too sexy. Gonna teleport it on top of them. The Sprout barely whiffs, had no vision. So unfortunate Sprout placement by way 2. And Dignitas managed to snipe out the Aegis. I just want to... Hopefully you guys can sort of excuse my usage of these 10-second things. But I think it's really useful. As I just want to see... I wasn't watching the Roshan die. So Fogged initiates, drop the Serpent once. Oh, one barrage of Black Hand. Oh my god. That is the worst. That is the absolute worst. Oh my god, Gyrocopter. And it was a splash by the Shadow Blade. I can't remember if you can splash the Shadow Blade damage. But I don't know how else would Roshan die so fast to one barrage. Flat cannons bounce, guys. Oh man. At the very least, Alliance got the Aegis on Anti-Mage. But, again, where will Anti-Mage push? The middle lane's free. Dignitas have already cleared out the bottom lane. And it's going to take so long for Anti-Mage to push out the other lanes that right now it's not looking that good for Alliance. And Anti-Mage doesn't really want to take engagements, wants to be farming. And Dignitas doing the right thing against Anti-Mage. Just fight, always, when there's an Anti-Mage on the other side in the early game. Because Anti-Mage, very squishy. And if you have some tanky supports that can survive the mana burn damage and the mana void, you can pretty much overpower him, as all the outer towers have been picked down by Dignitas in 19 minutes in the game. Dignitas playing aggressive, as well as they should. And right now, you can see sort of the weakness of the offlane Lone Druid, as we're seeing in these Western games sort of get exposed. But the problem with Lone Druid is no matter how hard you keep him down, he will always find his way back. I know Bulldog impressively managed to get an armlet up. Gotta go straight into the Basher, trying to get that PRD to go onto the Gyrocopter. Meow Gyrocopter gonna go for the BKB. Very, very standard build. As the last hits, AUI only get about 20 last hits behind the Anti-Mage. Pretty admirable because he's been a lot more engagements as way too sexy. Smoke attempt by the Alliance squad. Where is Snaking? Snaking's not with his team as Loda's gonna spy out Universe. He's gonna get hexed up, but there's the Alliance squad to reinforce. S4 with the RP. Here comes Loda cleaving out immense amounts of damage. Disruption is in place. Way too teleported in the wrong position. As you can see, this is sort of the weakness of Dignitas. They don't place many wards. Because they pick such a greedy lineup. And who's going to get the wards? They want to have Xiao Xiao and tank up. They don't get, or they want Nature's Pop to get the Orchid to shut down the Anti-Mage. And as a result, they're going to have less gold to play the wards. And also, the smoke was really nicely planned by Alliance because they know Dignitas would probably be placing aggressive wards. They wouldn't be placing wards in their jungle so defensively. So also a combination of that as Brewmaster gonna get stunned, place Soul Catcher's gonna do a lot of damage. Snaking gonna be forced to split. Aki will end up dying, and this might turn around for Snaky. He's gonna pick off S4 as well. And this is a level 11 Brewmaster ultimate, I do believe, so it has that shorter 20-second cooldown, and every second does count against an anti-mage. As the Darks are gonna take a lot of damage, gonna mech up. Loda just gonna have to get the heck out of there. Has the Aegis, so not really in too much danger. As Way 2 gonna teleport in, doesn't have the Orchid online, as Loda gonna teleport on out of there. So overall, Dignitas re-securing some of the map control, but again, the issue with Brewmaster is that his ultimate cools down for so long, and it doesn't really get better as the game goes on. I mean, the disable is always very relevant, but unlike RP, which goes through the BKB, the Cyclone will not, the Boulder Toss will not, and the Spirits have constant HP until you sort of level it up or get an Aghanims that eventually they will get overpowered. But that will not be for a long while as Dire's Courier gets sniped out. That is so unfortunate. I need to see that again. God, I am abusing this. I'm abusing this 10-second replay function. Okay, here comes Captain Bamboo. Oh, AUI Shadow Blade. Was it carrying anything? It was carrying something. Ooh. I need to see what it was carrying. Captain Bamboo. Biyasha. Ooh, 2.1k, not going to be on the anti-mage. That's going to slow down his split push significantly, as well as slow down his jungle farm. Really significant for Dignitas, as not only did they snatch the Roshan, they got the courier kill. The goal graph is starting to get a little bit dicey, because Dignitas probably want to end the game relatively soon. It's going to be difficult on the back of having no Aegis, but I imagine next time Brewmaster Ultimate is up, yeah, they have the Vlads up on the Brewmaster, the Aura remains with the Spirits when it splits, they have the mechanism in place, they'll have the BKB up on AUI very, very soon. Here comes the teleport, they're going to spot out EGM Aki trying to get in position, but here comes Way 2 gets the Sprout up onto EGM, going to Orchid Aki, but the Edict already being casted will continue to sort of tick away. Snaking will end up perishing as they just left him out for the Wolves. Meanwhile, Fogged gonna get absolutely demolished. Not gonna look at that replay because Anti-Mage happened to Fogged. So every kill that the Alliance squad get at this point is very, very significant because it delays the Dignitas push, and right now Alliance really can't hope to team fight. Meanwhile, AUI could be in a bit of trouble. Gonna just Shadow Blade out of there. Sentry wards and Dust are in place for Alliance, but at this point, do they want to chase the Gyrocopter? No, not really. And they didn't have any stuns in place anyways, unless they want to blow an RP. And even then, Aki was not in place to reinforce it, so not the biggest deal. But Alliance buying themselves precious moments, and every time Anti-Mage gets a moment, he will take a mile. He's still farming remarkably well, even being denied that Yasha. And right now, Alliance ensuring that that courier snipe never happens again, placing wards all over the map. Dignitas, again, wanting to end the game, placed this endgame ward into the base. Indicates they want to probably push top or mid. Probably top. As this is sort of a... It's an interesting ward because it spots out both areas of the map rather well, equally. And Snaking has Ion Shell on his back, pushing in. And really, you can see sort of the lack of map control hurting out the Alliance squad because they can't push out to this top or to this tier 1 top. And Loda, if you can deny that Yasha could have had the Mantis style, and with that, he could have split pushed freely because he wouldn't have to worry about Way 2's Orchid. But now he still has to worry. That courier snipe could be momentous as Loda going to get the heck out of there. But Loda has to play much more scared. Can't afford to go back because, or go out and push the waves because if he does, one teleport and. Ooh, EGM gonna die to the vacuum. Ooh, what the heck happened there? Huh, interesting. I thought the vacuum definitely counts as a teleport, but I guess the vacuum just barely whiffed. But yeah, way 2. You can't Manta Split out of Orchid, or you can, but not having me actually gonna hurt him out. Fortunately for Loda, he will probably just be able to teleport back out of there and get the Manta very, very soon. But does he want to get it? I'm sure he does. He wants a split push, because Anti-Mage, even with the Manta style, won't be able to team fight, so not gonna save for buyback at this stage. And now suddenly Dignitas looking not really on the back foot, but how are they going to break the base? That is key. They have been denied the Aegis. Anti-Mage is constantly pushing out all of their ways, and Nature's Prophet not nearly tanky enough at this point, especially against a Magnus with a dagger, and with the mobile, or not really mobile, but with the supports pretty much being omnipresent for Alliance. These supports definitely holding off the assault, and that's why the experience graph is staying rather constant and the goal graph dipping down, because the Anti-Mage is able to get the split push going. Maybe AY, he's gonna get that. He has enough money for the MKB. And Dignitas, I think they're still ahead. This should be an MKB. This should be an MKB. This is gonna be an MKB, right? Rapier? Or Roshan? Well, with the gyrocopter, whenever it's a demon edge, you can never tell. I think he's saving for MKB and buyback. If it's a Rapier, 25 minutes in the game, when Dignitas still have a really good shot to win it. Because you don't usually get Rapier when you're ahead. You get it when you're behind, because safety first. The motto of most professional teams. Remember, kids, always wear that protection in the form of the MKB rather than Rapier. Oh no, what am I talking about? He's going to get BKB and just has the casual demon edge. But it was funny because I thought he already had the freaking BKB because he's had that Ogre for so long. You all checking out the items on everybody else. Bulldog has the Basher at 1800 gold in the bank, has a buyback. S4 trying to go for a BKB on his own half. And again, BKB against Room Master, pretty much the best thing you can possibly get. And the question is, what will Odo get next? Usually, sometimes for Anti-Mage, they go for the Butterfly, they go for the Heart. In this game, I think he needs to get the BKB because the Brewmaster Ultimate could be potentially devastating. And with the BKB, you can just work down the Brewmaster Ultimate. Without the Brewmaster Ultimate, he's essentially useless. So that could be a possibility in the cards for Loda very, very soon. As Dignitas struggling to get map control, the Roshan is very important for them because, again, it's very difficult for them to break the base unless they have the Aegis. And Alliance just split pushing. What else do you want them to do? They have an Anti-Mage. This is what you're supposed to do with Anti-Mage. You're supposed to split push and not engage until you feel like you're powerful enough to engage. And even then, why do that? Just do the safety thing and split push. And there's no Wolf or Bear in place to get that double bash off onto Loda like there was in that game with the Lycan as well as the Lone Druid against Fnatic. And none of these heroes get bashers. Universe is going to go for the Aghanims. Aghanims on against Anti-Mage is very good because Anti-Mage gets a lot of stat boosting items. The Mana Burn also transfers. And it's overall going to be a good time for Universe to manage to get a copy of that Anti-Mage illusion. As Dignitas is going to smoke up, they're going to be able to get past the ward, but Alliance not even caring about this bottom lane too much, already pushing out sufficiently. And Loda, what's he going to go for? Is it going to go for BKB, the Talisman, the Eagle Song? Who knows? As Nature's probably going to teleport to the bottom lane. This could be... No, S4 not falling for the bait as Dignitas, again, trying to get the map control. The Aegis is so very, very vitally important as the Roshan just respawns. They're going to catch out the Bear, and that is going to leave the Bear out of the picture for quite a bit. They're going to shackle in place, but all the while Loda pushing out the top lane. Every moment where they're killing the Bear is a little bit more time that Loda can farm up. So even though they're losing the Bear cooldown as well as 100 gold, it's not the biggest worry for Alliance, because again, they don't want to fight. But Dignitas, knowing that the Bear is on cooldown, going to use the wards. They're going to get the Aegis. AUI picked up a Rapier? What the hell? He didn't go for BKB. What the hell is this? I'm so confused. Why did he go straight Rapier? Picks up the Aegis, no BKB. Has the Aegis in place. They want to end the game right now as Aki going to get some in place. Here comes the vacuum as Loda with the wall is in place. Universe with the mechanism. Here comes Loda Biggie back on top. We'll pick off way too. AUI trying to get in position, but he's just being kited relentlessly as Dignitas saying, we don't want to fight this. Or Alliance saying, we don't want to fight this, as they surely must realize AY has the Rapier. Why did he get it so fast? Why didn't he just go for MKB? Safe build with BKB. With the Aegis, you're definitely ahead. But I guess they're really fearing the anti-mage in terms of split push, and they know once the anti-mage gets a BKB, they have nothing to lock him down, and the supports are pretty much essentially boned. But still, what a risky play by Dignitas. I'm still not sure why they did this. Again, it could be for the reasons I previously mentioned, anti-mage split push, nothing to lock him down. And Brewmaster Ultimate is waning in terms of effectiveness. Snaking has not been able to pick up levels in a long moment, and again, at this point, with the Brewmaster, you want to have maybe level 16, working towards Aghanim. Snaking went for the Vlad, so he's going for a very, very end of the game now build. BKE finished up on AUI. This is the moment they've been waiting for. They're going to push in, and way too sexy is going to teleport in. Finishes Necronomicon. I don't know why Dignitas is playing so desperate. I guess they want to end this game ASAP, and right now they definitely have a significant edge, but make one mistake, lose the Aegis on the Gyrocopter, game could be potentially over. Especially with the RP, never count out the team with the RP, as the team with the RP is always fair in the late game. I don't care what anybody says, the team with the RP is always fair. As the wards are going to be in place, they're going to try to work down the tower with the wards, trying to focus down the bears as well. Loda pushing down the top tower in the meanwhile, saying, I don't want to fight against Gyrocopter, I don't have the BKB. Loda, what do you have? You did have the BKB, but still, it's very questionable to fight against a Gyrocopter with the Aegis, because it's not like Gyrocopter cares about that BKB. He's going to go to work as they're disrupting AoE, buying as much time as possible. Loda trying to get a teleport scroll. You can see him on the main map going back. Xiaoshan picks up Blink Dagger. This could be the initiation that the Dignitas line were waiting for. Now they have a reliable way to initiate on a Manta style BKB anti-mage with the Xiaoshan picking up that dagger. Fogged looking for an opening. Can he find one? S4 with the shockwave as the middle rack's gonna be falling uncontested. AY gonna back out. But still, with the Rapier, they only have 4 minutes. Way 2. Still, 4 minutes is a long time in the world of Dota. Way 2. Gonna go to the top lane, push it out, seeing that, okay, we still have a tier 2 bot, even though it's very low in terms of HP. Let's push out the top lane. Loda immediately going to make a beeline towards that bottom lane, or potentially going towards mid lane, as again, the mega creeps, or the super creeps, going to be very annoying in terms of delaying that. Loda, is this going to be a talisman? Just a teleport scroll, as Loda will most likely definitely save for buyback. That would be the smart play in this situation, because, again, all you have to do is kill Gyrocopter and get his Aegis, and that will be difficult against a Brewmaster and a Darkseer, but it's still feasible under the right circumstances, especially if you can delay out the Aegis. And if Dignitas is delayed until the Aegis expires, suddenly they have egg on their faces, because Bulldog most certainly will be working towards an Abyssal Blade, as actually he's going to go for the AC. The minus armor against buildings is going to be very useful. Loda picks off the bottom tier 2, and suddenly this is a game, again, 7.5k still advantage of Dignitas, but still, it matters about the next engagement.
Invisibility.
Meanwhile, Alliance just saying, screw this, we're not going to fight. We don't want to fight you guys, you have an Aegis Gyrocopter with a Rapier. And Dignitas did have Glyph, they do. But the Bear and the Edict just going to go to absolute town on these structures. They're going to lose a bomb barracks, so they're not even going to buy the Glyph. And meanwhile, Fogged going to go in onto EGM. EGM will die in a matter of moments. And suddenly, EGM buys back. They're going straight for the tier 4. What a play. Aki gonna go to work with that Edict, but Dignitas still have the Glyph. Meanwhile, Alliance, they do not have the Glyph. Range just fortified right now, as where is, oh man, I'm not too sure who's winning this just yet, as I need to pause it really fast. Alright, tower, click on tower HP. Okay, alright, it looks like Alliance are winning with the Bear demolished damage. Londred kills off the tower. Here comes teleport back by Aki with the Edict in place, and meanwhile here comes S4 with the RP. 3-man RP means Gyrocopter's not attacking. AUI calls the good game. Well played. Alliance take it. What a throw! That was a throw. That was a throw. I'm so confused. I know I might have made it less epic by pausing, but I'm very confused. Okay, killing the building. I want to look at the Throne's HPs. Here's the Dire Ancient. Alright, you can see the gyrocopter hitting the buildings. Suddenly, he's not hitting the building. GG, well played. That was a throw. That was such a throw. Oh my god, Dignitas, I am so disappointed. But Alliance showing the smart decision making in the end, win. That is... what a way to lose a tournament. I'm so confused. Dignitas had that. They went for a rapier. Not sure why. They didn't teleport back. AUI had no teleport scroll. They couldn't teleport back without AUI. I'm surprised Brewmaster didn't teleport back at the very least so they could just send people up in the air. I'm so confused. Well, that's a Dreamhack Invitational, guys. So Alliance walk away with $2.5k, a guaranteed spot in the Dreamhack. Dignitas walk away with 1.5k, and an egg on their face because they were in complete control of the game in my eyes. Maybe against an anti-mage with no lockdown, it could have been, but they took the middle barracks without too much of an issue. I think they could have taken it even without the rapier. So yeah, I mean, what more can I say, my friends? Hopefully you enjoyed that. I don't know if it was the most exciting commentary for you guys, but maybe you can wait for Lumi's commentary. I'm so very confused right now. I think I'm going to reevaluate Dota now and reevaluate my fandom for Dignitas. Keep in mind, I'm a fan of pretty much every team. Like, I'm a fan of Loda, and I'm a fan of S4. Dignitas, I've met them in real life, I'm a fan of them, so I am obviously a bit disappointed, but still, I'm so confused right now. Decision making, guys. And I thought the game, for the most part, was pretty well played by both squads. Except for the end. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Peace.